Welcome to the Live Fit podcast with your host, Glenn Johnson. Today you will learn techniques for permanent weight loss and improved overall health.
This is episode 1 of the Live Fit podcast, your source for reliable information to help you manage your weight, stay in shape, and feel great. My name is Glenn Johnson. I will be bringing these podcasts to you every week. I wanted to start this podcast series with background information of me, why I do this, and how I got started. First of all, I'll tell you why I'm doing this. I find, and I have found for years, that there's a lot of people that have a lot of health issues and problems, diabetes and problems walking and being mobile and just not feeling good. There's a lot of other sicknesses and illnesses, things that could be avoided, could have been avoided had better eating and exercise activity been involved in their life rather than, sedentary. A sedentary lifestyle is really the worst thing for the body until you pile on salt, sugar, and fat in high amounts to eating. So what I'm trying to do is help people see the light that they can enjoy their life without being obsessive and piling on bad on top of bad. I started out paying attention to diets or nutrition at about the age of 12. My mother was what I now call a hobby dietist. I'm sure she didn't think of it that way at the time, but she would go on a diet on Monday morning and follow it as closely as she could, and then eventually she wasn't perfect, and then, you know, being a black and white kind of personality, if I can't be perfect, I might as well be off it. Then she would eat a whole bunch and overeat and gain back a bunch of weight, and then another Monday would roll along and she would go back on another diet. And I saw this over and over and over again. And it wasn't just her, it was a lot of other people. And as I got older, I would gradually learn about these diets and see other people on these diets. And I really got a strong impression from firsthand, well, maybe secondhand experience, that dieting and dieters never win. Dieters never win. They go on a diet and then they go off a diet and they end up gaining back what they lost plus some. And I heard a quote recently, and I don't think I'm going to quote it quite correctly. It was by Deepak Chopra, and he said that when you go on a starvation diet, you will gain back the weight you lost and then some. And that extra weight that the body tacks on is basically your body telling you, don't do it again. So what I have found is that going on a starvation diet tells your body to not trust you. And there's a lot of ways that we tell the body that it can't trust us, and it has to do with sporadic eating or eating large quantities and then small quantities, or skipping breakfast, or fasting for a day or two, or eating these really wacky diets like grapefruit and tuna, or the cabbage soup diet, or all these different things kind of lead to this instability where the body just does not trust the person, okay? So as I mentioned, I was young and I started learning about nutrition. Then I got into school and started learning about it in a more academic sense, and learned about the macronutrients and micronutrients. And I went into the Navy, and I was a healthy eater. I ate as lean and healthful foods as I could, whole grains and lots of vegetables and pretty lean meats, but I didn't always have a good choice. And I remember at one point some guy standing in line behind me after we filled our tray with food, and he said, "Why are you getting that stuff? Why are you such a health food nut," or some sort of derogatory term like that. He said, "Why don't you just eat whatever you want until you turn 30 and then switch to eating healthy food? You're young and fit. Eat what you want." Well, I turned to him and looked at him to see if he was serious, and he was. So I said, "Well, think about all the junk that would be stored up in my body if I ate anything I wanted for the first 30 years of my life. And imagine how hard it would be to change my behavior and my habits and my tastes for certain foods just because I turn age 30. All of a sudden, flip on a dime to eating healthy food." There have been studies of young people who have died, for example, in the Vietnam War, where they have looked at their blood vessels and their arteries and found them to have deposits of plaque on them, even at age 18 and 19. So it starts from the very beginning. It doesn't wait till you're 30 years old before the plaque starts developing. And so we can be healthy and we can live a healthy lifestyle and still enjoy it. I have plenty of fun. I enjoy food. I love food, but I do my best to not overindulge, and I do my best to not eat too much of the bad stuff. So I really started Live Fit to accomplish better health for a majority of people. I started out personal training, and my goal was the same at that time. I wanted to help people get fit, get in shape, help them with their nutrition, help them with their physical activity to make a strong, viable, mobile body. And then I realized that that's only one person. I'm helping one person at a time. And I realized that I needed to help more. So I went back to school. I never thought I would go back to school, but I went back and got my master's degree in kinesiology so I could teach. And I wanted to teach a classroom full of students who would not only have a better life themselves, but hopefully teach others how to have a better life. A lot of these people that I'm teaching now, a lot of these students are going on to be personal trainers and physical therapists and other professions in the same area I'm in. So I find it's pretty satisfying, and I teach as much as I can so I can do that. But the main reason why I started Live Fit, the blog, the website, and the podcast, is so I can yet extend my reach. I really want to spread the word that you can live fit and healthy and happy and comfortably. It doesn't have to be a prison sentence. It doesn't have to be a no bad foods ever. It's just sensible, sustainable living. We've heard a lot about sustainable living, and it's not just the planet, but it's our bodies. We can have fun. And enjoy food. I've had friends who have two completely different definitions of the word good. I say, I eat good food, and their idea of eating good food is really high-fat foods. My idea of good food is some fish and steamed vegetables and a glass of water with a lemon wedge in it, and maybe a little bowl of fruit afterwards for dessert. That to me is a really, really good meal. To them, it's not, but it really is all in our definition and where we have our mindset. So one of the things I will talk about in subsequent episodes of Live Fit Podcast is mindset, our attitude, how we can improve our thought process to not feel that eating healthy food is a prison sentence or that you're doing somebody else a favor. It really is for you. You have one body. And if you thrash it, you don't get it back. You might be able to get a knee replacement or knee surgery, but I have never talked to anybody who's had any kind of joint replacement surgery that was happier with it than their original joint before it was damaged. So I told you I went into the Navy and I was eating pretty healthy there. I started getting into fitness fairly seriously in the Navy. I did some lifting in high school trying to have a better body and to look better for the girls. But when I was in the Navy, I worked and lived on the ship. And so when I wasn't working, I wanted to get off that ship. And there's only so many movies you can see and so many bars you can go to. So I joined a gym, and I went to the gym every night I was off duty. And sometimes on weekends, well, pretty much every weekend when we were in port, I would ride my bike 20 miles across town to the gym, work out for 3 or 4 hours, and then ride my bike back. So I was getting in a lot of exercise, taking group exercise classes and swimming and running and lifting weights and taking yoga and doing everything. I mean everything. It was great. I got in really good shape, but I was also learning a lot about the body, talking to people, studying my own reactions to certain exercises. So it was really only a matter of time before I began to do that as a profession. Oddly enough, I never considered it as a profession until in college. I had a girlfriend who was a group exercise instructor, and here she was exercising for money. I thought, wow, that's something I never really thought of. But it really wasn't until I was working for post-production doing sound editing for film and TV that I thought of becoming a personal trainer and making health and fitness my life and my lifestyle and my livelihood. The thing about that job that I had was that you work on a movie or TV show, and then you're not, and then you're constantly looking for work. It was kind of sporadic and kind of unsteady, so I needed to find a supplemental income source. So I became a personal trainer. It wasn't just a overnight decision. I had to work for it, and it took about a year before I was certified. But it was great because I could train people early morning before they went to work, and then again in the evening when they got off. And whether I was working on movies or not, I could still manage to do personal training. And I got more and more into personal training, and eventually I was feeling very disgruntled with the post-production, the film entertainment side, because I wasn't really helping anybody. It was very sedentary. And then my other job was great. People would come in and they say, "Oh, wow, I feel so strong and alive and fit and healthy, and I sleep better and I have more energy throughout the day, and I'm walking to work now." And they would just come in really happy, and I could see that I was changing their life for the better. Where entertainment, on the very best day, nobody noticed. And not that I need a pat on the back all the time, but I would rather help somebody than just entertain them. So that was a pretty good thing. And eventually I made the shift to doing that full time, started my own company of in-home personal training. And once again, I started feeling like, well, I'm not teaching enough people. So that's when I went to college and got my master's in kinesiology. During that time, I was working for commercial gyms. Didn't really care for those very much. I didn't like the attitude to get money at all costs and bring in people and train them as much as you can and retain them as long as possible, regardless of whether they need it or not. So I started working for a corporate fitness center, a couple different corporate fitness centers over time, and those were great because you could truly help people, and they knew you weren't trying to get money from them because they paid their dues through their company, and there was really nothing extra. So either I helped them or that I didn't, but they weren't leery of me trying to reach into their pockets. Well, about 5 years ago, me and a coworker started a program at a private athletic club, and its purpose was to help people get fit. And we've been running this 12-week program for about 5 years now, and we would take a group of about 20 or 30 people and take them through stages of different techniques and challenges for them to overcome and things that they can kind of learn. They'll teach them the baby steps that they need to become a fitter, more healthy person. We weren't giving them breakthrough new information. There was really nothing there that none of them hadn't heard before. But putting it all together and laying it out in an organized manner, in an organized system, helped them move forward and make these little changes that they needed to make to improve their life and to improve their fitness. As I was putting this podcast together, I started going over my history, and I found that I'm uniquely qualified for doing, first of all, Live Fit, but also the Live Fit podcast. I already explained to you my history of fitness and my passion for helping people become more healthy and fit and able. But also, I used to do radio when I was in college. I studied journalism, and I have post-production editing experience. So that really kind of sums it all up in it, and it tells me that I have to do this. I have to do this. And it's going to be a tough task. It's taking out of my family time and my private time. So right now I'm just doing this after hours, before hours, on weekends, every chance I get. My mind has been caught up with this for months and months and months now as I write articles and think of the things that will really help people the most. What articles do people want to hear? What are they struggling with and having trouble with? So that's one thing that you can do for me. I'm going to give you a little call to action right now. Actually, two of them. One is, what would you like to hear me talk about? What is your problem? What are you struggling with? What are the issues that you are having the most problems with? I would really like to tackle those problems. I can't help if I don't know what it is. And the second one is, if you enjoy the show, or even if you don't, please go to iTunes and give me a review. If you enjoyed it, give me a 5-star review. I really need those to get into the new and noteworthy section of iTunes. I get 8 weeks if I get enough 5-star reviews, I can be popped into this section where when anybody opens up the podcast section of iTunes, they will see certain shows. And if I'm in there, I have a much better chance of being noticed and getting more subscriptions. So if you subscribe to this podcast, I really wish you would. It would do me a big favor. You would do me a big solid if you did that. Also give me a review. If you don't love it, please tell me what I can do to make it better, because I'm doing this for you, not for me. I can listen to myself talk in my car, but I'm doing this with a microphone so you can listen to me talk. In episode 2, I'm going to be interviewing a CrossFit coach. She's also an Olympic coach, and she has a really deep knowledge of exercise and athletics. So she's going to be an interesting person. That's going to be Bridget Rock. So I will see you back here for episode 2 with Bridget Rock. Thank you.